In today's world, countries with direct access to seas or oceans enjoy numerous advantages. However, alongside these many advantages, there can also be numerous risks involved. That's why having a powerful navy is of utmost importance. Now, in today's video, we want to talk about an issue that has not existed in our navy until now. The intelligence ship Zagros, which for the first time, such a ship is being added to our navy. An intelligence and electronic warfare ship that can somewhat be called Iran's Maritime AWACS. Greetings to you, I am Ilyas Farok here at Persian Trend, and in this video we want to talk about the Zagros ship, Iran's first maritime AWACS. The story of the Zagros ship is a complex and intricate one. It's been about 10 years that all military industry enthusiasts have been waiting for this ship to join our navy, and during this time various events have occurred, from capsizing to sanctions and various stories. But finally this integration happened, and now we can say that we currently have an operational intelligence ship or an electronic warfare intelligence ship. Not much information has been released so far about this ship and the radar and reconnaissance equipment it carries, and well, it's difficult to talk about its details. The story of its construction goes back to about 7 or 8 years ago, when I think a military delegation from Iran went to Russia to buy a reconnaissance intelligence ship from the Russians, similar to what the Russians themselves are using, and well, it would certainly have helped us a lot. But as usual, it's Russia, with their unreliability and refusal to provide equipment. I mean, we have many instances where the Russians either didn't sign contracts, said they wouldn't sell us certain things at all, or signed contracts but didn't deliver. Or if they did deliver, they didn't provide the necessary support, among 1,000 other different scenarios. And now, I don't know what this new strategic contract is supposed to achieve. I hope that if we are to receive weapons from them in the future, at least there will be guarantees that they will actually provide us with the equipment properly, completely, and with support. Now we have to wait and see. But let's not stray from the main topic. The story of building the Zagros ship goes back to the fact that we couldn't buy it. The Russians, once again, acted unfaithfully. If I don't use a rude word, the military officials concluded that since the Russians aren't providing it, we'll build it ourselves. Certainly, we have had achievements in radar equipment or electronic warfare, and have been able to build some things. We had some devices from before the revolution, and we managed to reverse engineer them. We bought some devices from Russia, managed to reverse engineer them, and overall, efforts are being made for us to have our own intelligence, reconnaissance ship, or an electronic warfare ship to start this path. Now, it is certainly not intended for this Zagros ship to be compared with, for example, Russian or American ships, or even with Chinese and European models. In its own class and size, it's a start, and then we'll see whether it will eventually be updated in the future, or its equipment will become more advanced, or if it is going to remain as it is, and we will just take pride in having an electronic warfare ship. There should never be a barrier created for our elites, telling them that what they have is enough, or that they should only work with a select group of people. They should allow all talented individuals, anyone who has the capability to build a device or contribute, to be attracted to the country and be able to use this equipment for the protection and defense of the country. Let's move on to the information we have about the Zagros ship to see exactly what this maritime AWACS is and what it does. The intelligence ship Zagros, with hull number 313, is considered a new subclass of the Mowj-class ships and is the 6th ship from this class to join the Navy of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Unlike the other Mowj-class ships, the superstructure design of this ship is different, and in addition to a helicopter landing pad, it has a hangar capable of accommodating Bell 212 helicopters. Due to these changes, the command bridge has been moved forward, and the ship's funnel has been split into 2 smaller funnels, relocated to both sides of the ship. Although the Zagros ship is an intelligence vessel, it is considered a military ship, and one of its peculiarities is that no weapons have been used on this ship. The main task of this ship is defined as electronic warfare and the collection of military information or signal gathering from target ships using various radar, communication, surveillance, and intelligence equipment. But this ship might face threats during operations outside the country. And I think the fact that it can't defend itself as it should as a military ship might cause some problems, in my opinion. Of course, a Bell 212 helicopter can be used on this ship, which can be armed. That means it could be equipped with various missiles or have a machine gun. And perhaps if there are minor threats to the ship, they might be addressed by this helicopter. But minor threats, I don't even know. What would happen if a large number of pirates attacked this ship in the middle of the Gulf of Aden? It would be very embarrassing if this ship were to be hijacked by, for example, pirates or a small group of enemies. This is a military ship, and it would leave a big stain on the Army's reputation. And now some might say that surely it has an escort and doesn't go anywhere alone. In other models, other ships, from the information I researched, both Russian and American models, ships can usually defend themselves alone. Of course, in all of them, it wasn't supposed to be a combat ship. They weren't supposed to engage in combat. But well, in the middle of a war, they don't distribute sweets, and this ship might also get involved. Or, if a wartime situation arises, and they want to deal an intelligence blow to the army, they might first attack this ship, and it must be able to defend itself. Now, maybe it has equipment or weaponry that has remained hidden, and we are not aware of it. As usual, they say you are not aware of certain things. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that this ship has something we are not aware of. But in the images, photos, and interviews we've seen, none of them mention such a thing. We can consider a very small possibility. Maybe in the future, this ship is going to be upgraded, and weapons will be installed on it. The next point I can mention about the design of this ship is that in the Mowj-class ships, there is usually a helicopter or hangar at the stern of the ship. But in this ship, they have moved it to the middle of the ship, because when the helicopter is at the stern of the ship, it cannot stay on the ship for a long time, and it faces its limitations. But now that they have moved it more towards the center, this problem is likely resolved, and now the helicopter can always stay on the ship and be a part of it. But now let's see what these intelligence ships or the Zagros ship are supposed to do. What this ship does is gather intelligence, or collect all the signals around it. And even if its radars are complete, it can identify submarines from very long distances and monitor them. In other words, the same task that AWACS performs in the sky, this ship performs on the sea. It can monitor all surface and subsurface vessels, some of the surrounding land, and even the sky in the area. And this surveillance can greatly assist the military in terms of intelligence. The next point is that it can intercept enemy communications, which is very important, and it can even disrupt their communications, preventing those ships from communicating with each other. It's the same electronic warfare that we all expect from it. Honestly, due to the confidentiality, there isn't much information available about the Zagros ship. We don't even know if all the equipment that was supposed to be installed on it has been installed and is now ready for operation, or if, as usual, the ship is delivered, joined to the Navy, and gradually the equipment is completed and put into operation. In previous cases, for example, we have seen with other vessels that the vessel was delivered, but its radar was not yet ready or some part was lacking. Well, this is also natural. We also suspect that such conditions might exist for the Zagros. But since we can't really assess the Zagros and gather information about it, because after all we know that the military doesn't provide this information and it's classified, and it should be that way, we can research a similar vessel. The Russian Vishnya vessel was one that the Islamic Republic had previously requested to purchase, but the Russians didn't sell it and tried to build something similar instead. There isn't much information about the Vishnya either. For example, we don't know how its radars work or what capabilities it has. The Russians definitely won't disclose what capabilities or weapons this vessel has. The Russians certainly won't provide much information. But with some internet searching, I found a bit of information. The Vishnya-class vessel was built in the 1980s during the Soviet Union era. The task of this vessel is to monitor radio, radar, and satellite communications and attempt to disrupt enemy communications during wartime. Another task this vessel performs is conducting surveillance operations near enemy shores or in disputed areas. And it does this covertly in international waters. Another benefit of this vessel can be supporting naval operations by providing information to military ships and submarines, helping them find the correct position. In the end, I tried to gather as much information as possible about the Zagros vessel in this video, and there wasn't much more information available. Certainly, friends who are in the army or the IRGC are not allowed to disclose security information about this vessel, and I don't expect them to. But this vessel is likely to carry out missions in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and the Gulf of Aden. And in the coming days, if this vessel is deployed on these missions, we will hear more news about it, or we should expect events where the name of the Zagros vessel will be in the headlines. For example, events similar to what happened to the Behesht ship or other similar ships that I have previously made videos about, which you can watch. Unlike on land, where we become aware of every event that occurs. The seas are a different world, and countries are seriously engaged in warfare. Both commercial wars and military and intelligence wars. And they try to harm each other as much as they can. And sometimes events occur in the depths of the oceans that we might not even become aware of for months. For example, I made a video for you about the war that Iran and Israel have been directly engaged in at sea for a long time, striking each other, which many might not have known about before I worked on this video. I definitely recommend watching this video if you haven't seen it, because I provided very interesting information about these wars, and these wars will probably continue even more powerfully in the future. I hope that ultimately all this military equipment will be used in conditions where peace prevails, and no foreign force has its eyes on our country's soil. But what do you think? In your opinion, how much can the Zagros ship solve the problems of the Iranian army? Do you consider this ship to be useful? Or do you think building it was pointless? I read all your comments and respond to them as much as possible. Until the next video, goodbye.